So in the NFL, the Dolphins coming in with high expectations, and a lot of that surrounding QB1 and Tua Tagovailoa. Head into his second training camp, this will be much more normal compared to the first one. Except there seems to be some whispers about this year being Tua or bust. Miami adding some weapons to help him out. First-round pick and Jalen Waddle, free agent wideout, and Will Fuller. Head coach Brian Flores said Tuesday that Tua made plenty of strides during the offseason program. Only time will tell if they can get over the hump and into the postseason. Huge chip on his shoulders here, showed some flashes of being a star QB, but also a rookie at times, went 6-3 in his starts, while completing just 64% of his passes, 11 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and over 1,800 yards to show for. Now remember, he did split time with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's now in Washington, so 2021 should be the Tua show. So it's not a show here on HQ. Let's get Ryan Wilson to check in. What's going on, Ryan? How you doing?
Glad to be back, Brandon. Glad to be back with the crew.
You've been on, on excursions and boats and stuff. I'm just thinking possibly because we haven't seen it in a while, so I just want to throw that out there. But of course, let's get to business. We can talk about that a little bit later. Tua QB1 for now, under the microscope. If we're looking back to last season, whispers we heard about Deshaun Watson being swapped for him in the offseason. Are we looking at Tua or bust here for him in Miami?
It does sound like a weird thing to say since he had his rookie season last year and we saw the stats that weren't terrible, but he has to make a huge stride from year one to year two. And look, I think a big part of that's going to be his continued getting over the hip injury he had that curtailed his last season in Alabama, and he says he feels a lot better, and that's the hope. He does feel better. He's able to throw the ball down the field more often, which he rarely did at Miami, did often with Alabama. But yeah, if things don't work out this year, that's a huge issue because, as you noted, Deshaun Watson has been mentioned. There's an opportunity with that high-round draft pick to take one of these quarterbacks that went in the first round a few months ago. So this is all about Tua Tagovailoa. And something else to keep in mind, I'm sure Tua's thought about this, as had Dolphins fans. If Ryan Fitzpatrick hadn't gotten benched, the Dolphins, a team that won 10 games, which is great news, would have made the playoffs. They would have won one game, maybe two more games with Ryan Fitzpatrick in there. It didn't happen. So, again, this is all about Tua Tagovailoa taking that next step. You mentioned Jalen Waddle, their first-round pick, also from Alabama. Absolute burner, can run for days. So he has all sorts of weapons. They drafted Hunter Long, a tight end as well, to help him out there. So there are no excuses in terms of being able to get the ball down the field. And that could be short passes to Jalen Waddle, who can do this with it, or throwing deep balls to Preston Williams or Devontae Parker. There are going to be plenty of options. We'll see how the offensive line holds up. Has two young guys who are really good. But again, at the end of the day, this is a quarterback's league. And if Tua struggles, the Dolphins are going to be in the quarterback business come next offseason.
Yeah, of course, and they also added Will Fuller as well, so plenty of targets for him to drop some dimes in 2021. Out in L.A., new regime there for Justin Herbert, new head coach Brandon Staley, known as defensive mind a little bit, but if you're looking at your quarterback here, how does he kind of help Herbert kind of build off that offensive rookie of the year this past season?
Yeah, it's funny. It might be the other way around, Brandon. It might be Justin Herbert helping Brandon Staley make the transition from being young coach to be his first year as an NFL coach. And here's the question about Brandon Staley, who comes from Sean McVay's staff. Is he going to be more Sean McVay, which would be fantastic news, or is he going to be more Zach Taylor, who's gone to Cincinnati and has admittedly struggled? A big part of that, again, you have a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. It's interesting, Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, made some comments recently where he said changing coordinators is the worst thing you can do to a young quarterback, and that's exactly what's happened to Justin Herbert. He has veteran Joe Lombardi calling the plays for him now, which is the good news. But going back to his freshman year at Oregon, he's had 5 different play callers. Also good news, he's still been pretty good throughout those 5 years. He had a few struggles here and there at Oregon. Didn't change the fact that he was a top 6 pick and came out like he did last year. But they have Keenan Allen there. They signed Jared Cook to replace Hunter Henry. They have Mike Williams. They have Austin Eckler. They bolstered the offensive line. On defense, Derwin James is coming back. There's a lot of reasons for optimism. And Brandon Staley, by the way, is a defensive guy, as you mentioned, did a fantastic job with the Rams last year. I suspect we'll see similar type performances from this Chargers defense, who have a ton of playmakers. But again, just like with Tua, at the end of the day, it comes down to your quarterback. Will we see Justin Herbert 2020 version? Will we see Justin Herbert maybe 95% of that, which is certainly okay? Or will he regress? I suspect we'll see the same Justin Herbert, maybe even a little better, which is great news for Brandon Staley.
Yeah, Herbert setting those rookie records in passing touchdowns and completions this past season. Meanwhile, the Browns, we consider them maybe a favorite to come out of the AFC with the Chiefs there. A lot of that has to do with Kevin Stefanski and the impact he's had on Baker Mayfield. If you're looking at this season, we consider the Browns maybe a favorite there. Can Baker take another step this season?
Yep, and I say that as a Steelers homer, fully acknowledging that this ain't your typical Browns team. This team is legit. And you mentioned Baker Mayfield and you mentioned Kevin Stefanski. Those are the two most important players, two most important people in that organization. Stefanski has instilled confidence in this team. He has instilled confidence in Baker Mayfield. Some of the confidence we didn't see in previous seasons. And, Freddie Kitchens, it turned out, wasn't the right answer to the coaching position. And Kevin Stefanski, they got it exactly right. Don't forget, the Browns beat the Steelers in back-to-back weeks late in the season, week 17, and then in that playoff game where they steamrolled them. They should have beaten the Chiefs the next week. Patrick Mahomes was knocked out, and they had a chance to win, and Chad Henne pulled a rabbit out of his hat, so to speak. But offensively, they have so many playmakers to help Baker Mayfield, starting with the running game. That offensive line is quietly one of the best offensive lines in the league, and the defense is young, fast, strong, and only getting better. Starts with Myles Garrett, but they keep drafting guys and keep signing guys that make them that much better. And right now, as we sit here, the Ravens are the favorite to win the division, according to our buddies at William Hill. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns get red hot and find a way to win the division. And honestly, I'd have to go back and check the books. I don't know the last time the Browns won any division, but this team is poised to do just that, which is crazy talk, given how historically terrible the Browns have been throughout the last 50, 60 years.
Before his time in Cleveland, of course, Kevin Stefanski was with Minnesota. If you're looking at the Vikings, they're looking for some balance in 2021. And it starts with maybe his former quarterback in Kirk Cousins. How important is it for him to get off to a good start here?
It's really important. Kevin Stefanski, again, was the glue that sort of held that offense together in Minnesota. He helped Kirk Cousins out because he had that balanced offense that includes Dalvin Cook and the running game. And if you can have that balance, it opens things up for other people. Justin Jefferson was a huge boon last year after they got rid of Stephon Diggs and sent him to Buffalo. They still have Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr., the tight end. They have a lot of players. They drafted 2 offensive linemen to help keep Kirk Cousins upright, which was a struggle as well last year. And you mentioned Stefanski's now gone. Clint Kubiak, Greg Kubiak's son, is now the OC there. So there'll be some of those similar schemes and that type of offense that we've seen from the elder Kubiak is what we should see with Clint and with the quarterback situation, the running back situation, and of course Mike Zimmer, the head coach, will have that defense back to the form he wants it in. He wasn't happy last year, Mike Zimmer, with how the defense played, and they're going to need all these things to come together, starting with Kirk Cousins, because as you may have heard, Brandon, Aaron Rodgers has come back to Green Bay, and he's ready to go.
Finally, I mean, that's all we've been waiting for. And you mentioned defense here. Washington, they have a pretty good one. The number 2 defense last year. You got to look at that front 4, though. Young, Payne, Allen, and Sweat. Is this the best defensive front we might have this season?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard-pressed to find a group of 4 that talented, that young, and just still getting better, which is the scary part. They re-signed Jonathan Allen the other day, and deservedly so. He's been quietly dominant because we don't talk a lot about interior defensive line, but you see Chase Young here, the first-round pick back in 2020, came out of the box dominating. Montez Sweat the year before that, Deron Payne, also in the interior. Jonathan Allen's former teammate at Alabama. And look, man, a great defense solves a ton of problems. We saw it way back in 2004 with Ben Roethlisberger when he was a rookie and Joe Flacco when he was a rookie the next year, 2008 with the Ravens. Those defenses made things easier for the offense. The great news for Washington is they have a veteran in Ryan Fitzpatrick, which you mentioned earlier. He's now in Washington. Now, he can play like he's used to playing. Maybe he throws 2 interceptions a game. He doesn't have to worry about making those mistakes because the defense will get you the ball back. That's why they made that playoff run with Taylor Heinicke, who was extremely inexperienced, but the defense kept them in it. Heinicke made some plays, and they had a chance to win some football games. I think they're even better positioned now, and I like them better in that division than Dallas, even though Dallas obviously has Dak Prescott back. I think the defense is a huge part of it, but obviously so is getting a veteran quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
See, Ryan, we were good until you mentioned my team, but see how you treat me? You know, why do you got to hate on my Cowboys? We were all good. I let you have your moment about Steelers and Browns, and you just had to shoot me down. Right.
Welcome back, right?
Yeah, thank you. Welcome back, Ryan. As always, I guess, Ryan Wilson, we love having him on. Yeah. Big Six Podcast, of course, download and listen to the fellas, Will Brinson, Jonathan Jones, of course, breaking. Aaron Rodgers is back in Lambeau with the man bun. Download and follow. Give the guys a listen.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.